Okay, today's meeting will be rather short, and I promise you that it will. So today we're going to go over the VOE program. Okay, I'm going to share my screen real quick. It's just a chart. This one's going to go by really, really fast. So a couple weeks ago, we went over the bank statement program, right? No more pop quizzes. Lowest expense ratio we can go with a few of the lenders like NewFi and others is 10%. Okay. Now you need to have a CPA letter, obviously verifying that the borrower has been practicing and operating that self-employment business for at least 2 years. The week after that, 2 weeks ago, we went over P&L products, right? If the bank statements don't provide enough qualified income, then you could always go the P&L route. And we kind of touched up on, look, guys, I'm a very straightforward guy, right? And it's hard for me to fluff things. I don't like doing that. But we did kind of go over the gray area of what a P&L entails. But a P&L program will help a borrower qualify for more if the bank statement program doesn't work, right? Classic example was you have a client. He's been in business for 2 years or a year and 18 months, but the CPA is willing to sign off that's been 2 years because he did other type of work as self-employed. Regardless, let's just say he for the first 18 months or 12 months of his business, he's building his income, and so his bank statements don't really reflect the income that we need, or the borrower needs to qualify for a $2 million house. But the most recent 6 months do, right? And the example was, a CPA can provide a prorated, almost like a pro forma P&L, right? Based on the past 6 months that's reflecting a lot more income to help to allow for a higher qualified income, right? And that Giving Tree, we work with CPAs that will help us to get there. Today we're going to go over the VOE program. So this one too, it's when you enter the world of non-QM, it can get a little hairy and dicey and murky, right? Now, when it comes to VOE, I want you guys to first understand a VOE program is not just a non-QM product, okay? The reality is that conventional loans, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and even FHA has VOE programs, okay? Now, how does a VOE program work? So you guys all know what a VOE is, right? Verification of employment. Do you guys know the two types of, not C, do you guys know the two types of verification of employments? Did you guys know that there was two types? No? Sorry, Romy, did you say something?
Written and verbal.
Good, very good. It's really easy. You have VOE, or verbal verification of employment, and WVOE, the written verification of employment. Now, typically in a general loan process, just about all loans that we procure towards the end or 10 days before closing, most, if not all, loans require a verbal VOE, right? And the purpose of that is to verify that the borrower is still employed while they're trying to get a loan and trying to close escrow, right? Heartbreaking things during the pandemic. So this didn't really I was like, why is this so necessary, right? This is just extra step. During the pandemic, I had 3, if not 4 clients that were laid off during the pandemic while they were in escrow. And there was 4 escrow. Well, it's actually 3 escrows and 1 refinance that I had to cancel. So we start the process. 2 of them completely didn't tell me. They didn't disclose that they were getting laid off. Two of them didn't, but right, 20 days into escrow, whatever, everything's done. We get CTC, we get CD out. Processor orders, and that wasn't with Giving Tree, guys. Processor orders a verbal VOE, and the verbal comes back, oh, this employee is no longer with us. Or they'll say they were issued, they were like, issued a 2-week notice of termination. And so we had to cancel the escrows. True stories during the pandemic. And they were a dime a dozen at that time. Many loan officers experienced it. So that's the verbal VOE. Now, the other one, we're going to focus on the other one, the WVOE, the written verification of employment. So as we learned, some of us have learned recently too, if you have a borrower, okay, who works, who's W-2'd, okay, and earns variable income, or better, more precisely put, if you have a borrower who is W-2'd, okay, but will require the use of variable income to qualify on your mortgage, okay, a written verification of employment will be required. Okay, so let's just take a nurse for an example. A nurse has been with Kaiser for 10 years, and she makes, let's just say, $100 an hour. And let's just say Exhibit A, borrower one, the $100 an hour equates to about what, $200,000 a year. That's enough for her to qualify to purchase a $500,000 condo. We don't need to use her overtime, her bonus pays, her attendance bonus, her educational reimbursements. We don't need any of her night differential, let's just say. Okay, we don't need any of that. She qualifies on her straight time. Then we don't need to order a WVOE, a written one. Okay, she's going to qualify on the merit of just her base time. Okay, now Exhibit 2B. Let's say we have this borrower, and he is a nurse with Kaiser. He works night shift, and let's just say he wants to buy $1 million house. So we need, on the $100,000 base pay alone, 100,000 hour base pay alone, he doesn't qualify. But because he works he works nights, he picks up extra shifts. And let's just say these Kaiser nurses their full time is defined by 3/12s, three days of 12-hour shifts. But let's just say that this nurse has, 4 shifts, 5 shifts, 3.5 shifts, 4.5 shifts. And we need all that income, the extra income, to qualify. That's when we will need to order a WVOE. Okay? Does that make sense? Now, with the non-QM WVOE product, okay, the reason why it exists, well, for one, because a written verification of employment, you would assume, is filled out by the controller, right? Or the HR personnel, or a CPA, someone, that's completely not related to the borrower, the client, or anything, third party. And that would be sufficient enough, right, over tax returns, W-2s, and pay stubs, and that will be sufficient to qualify for that income. So in the non-QM world, it's providing space, okay, again, to not look at W-2s, tax returns, and pay stubs, but instead to go off of a form, the verification form. It's Fannie Mae's 1005 form. Okay, the Fannie Mae 1005 form is the verification of employment. And I'm going to share that. I'm going to bring it up and share it with you quick. And have you guys all seen it before? I'm assuming you guys have. If you haven't, I will try and bring it up. Okay. Here it is. Wait, no, that's not it. Brenda, do you have a readily available? the ones that are coming. Oh, here it is. I found it. Okay, let me share the screen. Sorry, and I should have gotten this ready before the meeting. Great.
Do you need a completed verification of employment?
No, just a blank one would be nice.
So we have, I think I have a blank one that we can pull through Calyx Point.
So we'll come back to it. Yeah, if you don't mind sending that in the chat or something, I would appreciate it. So I should have gotten that ready. But it looks like this. I don't know if you guys can see this one. Hold on. Here it is. Let me see if I can zoom in. No, it won't let me. Okay. Anyways, so the idea here for the non-QM part, the non-QM allowing for, oh, here it is. I did get it. Thank Brenda, I got it. Here it is, guys. Okay. Okay, so this is the form. So if you guys have not seen this form before, it is something that you guys can get familiar with as, yeah, I would honestly say it'll probably, come up here and there when you're dealing with a nurse or a truck driver or, just anyone that's hourly, wage earner. And for the reason, because, so you'll see the name, the lender that's requesting it here, the name of the applicant, the employer's information here, but what's important is right here. Okay, so if you haven't seen this form before, take a close look here, how specific and detailed it breaks down the income. Okay, now there are a lot of people, I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of situations where the employer will mess this up, right? Whether it's a smaller business or someone that's really busy or lazy or whatnot, they'll see this and like, oh my goodness, there's just so many boxes, there's just too much. But many a times I have seen WVOEs come back in with errors, okay? And many a times it causes a file to get suspended, okay? But here you'll see that how they have to check how the pay is issued, whether it's hourly or weekly, monthly, the amount. Here is very important, 12B, because it wants you to break down. So there's a lot of employers that would just write in, oh, $120,000. Okay, but that's not what we're asking for, because here, if you put that the hourly is $12, it doesn't add up to $120,000 annual salary, right? So if their hourly is truly $12, okay, then and your total is $1,200, then you got to break this down. I mean, that might mean this is $25,000 here. How much are they making in overtime, right? How much are they making in commissions, right? So they have to break this all down, year to date, past year, and the past year. And the other thing is to make sure that usually there's a section here to fill out whether there it is, 2020, 2024. And 2023, they got to fill out what they have to denote what what year this is pertaining to.
Also, the year to date, it should be, so like if we're filling it in today, it should be year to date till, let's say 6/30.
Correct. Yep. Because they will do they'll do the prorated, or they'll calculate it based on the year to date income, right? How much they've received. Not, yeah, because you don't want to put numbers that reflect 4 months ago or 3 months ago and put year and say it's till today's date. Then they're going to be qualified on a lot less income. So they have to really specify that. Here is where my clients in the past, in 2020, April, March, well, probability of continued employment. So many will put highly, or I don't know what else have you seen, like yes, but there have been 2 weeks notice served, something like that. Okay, or terminated, right? These are words that you don't want to see, but can happen. Okay. Military, you won't deal with this too much with the military. Yeah. So-
Ragnar, can you scroll up?
Mhm.
The section 14 through 19, it has to be completed as well.
Okay. Thanks for that.
So-
Right here.
If they're hourly, specifically their hourly date hours, if they get overtime bonus, all of that.
Yeah.
As well.
Okay, great. Thank you. Now, some companies do use what's called a work number, guys. It's a third party. It's a third party. That basically fills out a VOE for you. But in some cases, and Brenda, you could speak to this. In some cases, it's not enough. It's not specific enough because the work order is all automated. Sometimes, even though we get the work order number or the work order, we have to get it manually filled out. Is that true, Brenda? I've had that a few times. Not here, I think.
Yeah,
but
it's happened a couple times.
Mhm.
I mean, the work number for the most part is really good, but they don't always have the most updated numbers.
Okay.
Or if they've switched employments too, they don't always carry all of the employments, because usually if you run it through work number, it'll pull your last 2 years history.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Good to know. Thank you. Okay. Any questions regarding this form, guys? Okay. The reason why this form was brought up was because to explain why a WVOE product then. Okay. So here's a comparison chart. You'll kind of notice the one thing glaring. Okay. Let me just ask it to see if you guys are paying attention. What is one glaring, obvious takeaway from this chart? Anyone want to take a guess? What kind of stands out right away from this chart? Don't think too hard about it. It's just more obvious.
The program name.
Okay, program name. Something else about it, though. Maybe it's not that obvious. It was just obvious to me. That's subjective, so don't be embarrassed. Anyone else? Let me go further
Written
down.
VOE.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I like that. That's the one different. That's the one difference that's obvious. That's the one difference that's obvious. But what is it? What else do you guys see then? If that's the only thing that's different.
With our column, it's written VOE and pay stub.
So that's one. It's another. So maybe it's not that obvious, and it's a stupid question on my end. The VOE programs are all the same for the most part. Okay. If I added 50 other lenders to this comparison chart, they're all about the same. Okay. Why is that important? Because a VOE isn't that unique of a program or a product in of itself, guys. Okay, we're not doing anything special to this program. Okay, so you've seen this now, 50%, the max loan amounts. You need about 80% for most of them. The FICO scores are going to be like in the mid 6s for most of them, right? You could do primary, secondary investment programs for all of them. Okay. This is for, self-employment history. You need to be employed for at least 2 years, just like Fannie Mae, right? You guys already know that. Right. It says here you need a form 105, 105, or 1005, 1005 that's needed. There are reserve requirements because it's a non-QM loan, okay? And they're gonna vary from 6 months to 9 months depending on the loan amount, okay? Gift funds are allowed, okay? There's nothing so unique about the VOE program, guys. Okay, if you guys are familiar with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA loans, it's not that much different. So why are we emphasizing the VOE program? Can anyone take a wild guess? What separates a VOE program? Why go with the VOE program? Anyone want to take a wild guess?
No pay stub is required.
Right. So, but what do we do with that information? We there's no pay stubs, there's no W-2s, no tax returns for that. For that matter, a 4506T is not required either. Okay. So there's all these things that are not required. Then why go with the WVOE? Is it simply because there's less documentation? Is that why?
Could it be that the mix up of the income? I mean, but the VOA will the breakdown if it's written right. It was the mix up of the income overtime versus regular time.
Okay, Freddie, you're really close. Actually, I saw Ian's comment. True, it is a lot less documentation, so there is a convenience factor in it, and you're only really the interest rates are only about, and I say only, but it's reasonably 0.5% higher. We can get into a loan sifter too if you want to do that, but the interest rates, right, because it's a non-QM loan, it's about 0.5% higher. Okay, but I'm going to kind of spin off of what Freddie said. Okay, it is because, right, it's someone else filling out that form for us as lenders to see how much money they make, what income is being earned by our client, as opposed to seeing it through other documentation, such as pay stubs and W-2s. And I don't know if you guys caught that. What I said was, it is for someone else to fill out and complete for us then to see what income we're going to use. So without getting a little too wild and extreme here, okay, let's just use a busboy or a waiter, okay? Let's say a waiter works at a restaurant, okay? Restaurant X, okay? And this employee at restaurant X, okay, earns $25 an hour, okay? What's the annual income of $25 an hour? You guys should know this. This was training like 5 months ago. What was the magic? Let's just say they're full-time. Full-time. If you get this right, next time I'm in the office, I'll take you guys to lunch. What's their annual income? $25 an hour full-time. Not Brenda, because you're a processor.
83,000?
52,000.
Wait, okay, hold on. What did On say?
83.
On, I'm so disappointed in you. Romy, what did you say?
52,000
Very good. How did you get 52,000?
or 25 times
What's 2050?
40
I did 20
times 52 weeks.
Okay, I want to know what that magic number is, guys. Come
2050.
on.
2050.
No.
No?
Hannah, you said something, but you're muted.
2080.
Yes, 2080. Okay, remember, full-time employee, if you work 40 hours a week in 1 year, it's 2080 hours, okay? So 2080, so how did you get 52 then? 25 times 2080 is $52,000. But now let's just say borrower comes to you, hey, loan officer, Hannah, I want to buy this $500,000 condo. And like, okay, you get them qualified, you get their documentation, but all they show on their W-2 is $52,000. And like, hey, I'm sorry, based on $52,000, you can't afford a $500,000 condo. So, oh, no, that's not all I make. I make tip. was like, great. How much do you make in tip? I make about another $50,000 a year in tip. It's like, great. Let me see your tax returns. But the tax returns show that there's only $52,000. It's like, what are you doing? Where's the other 50,000? Oh, well, man, it's cash. And so I don't report that on my tax returns. Ah, okay. You don't report that on your tax returns. Unfortunately, the answer then as a LO to the borrower is what? We can't qualify that income, right? Well, let's just say now that this client goes, Hannah, I really want to buy this house. Please, 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 please help me out. What do I need to do? I make money. Okay. I just can't show it on paper. Well, then Hannah's going to say, do you have an employer that's willing to confirm that you make that $50,000 in tip? So yeah, no, he's really cool. I've known him forever. I've worked with him for 10 years. He'll do whatever. Boom. There we go. Problem solved. Solution found. Now we as a lender can go with the VOE program, submit that form, the 1005 form to that borrower's employer, and the employer will write that he's, the borrower was employed or has been employed with the company for 10 years and $52 or $25 an hour every hour, full time, fills it all out, and then under bonuses or tip, we'll write $50,000 a tip, right, for the past 2 years. Now that's qualified income. Do you guys understand it? Okay. Now that is a more or less a very again, more or less more of a realistic and practical scenario. Okay, you guys get that? It's more or less a realistic and practical scenario. But I'll leave it at that. Okay, that there are more colorful scenarios than that. Okay, so yeah, the VOE program does not pull a 4506T. Here, actually, it was, I don't know if you guys caught if it was on there or not. But you know what? Better yet, I'll show you guys that it's not on their guidelines. Okay, so let me share you my screen, and we'll end it there. Let's see for share. Okay. So this is a matrix with, who is this one? ARC? Yeah, ARC. And then you go find VOE. Here it is. I hope it's on the section. I just have to look for it real quick. I know it's in here because I saw it too. That 4506C is not required. Just give me a sec.
Wagner, it's that last tax transcript. So it says 1 year full doc wage earner. A signed 4506C is required. Tax transcripts are not required. So the form, they do have to sign it, but they don't pull that tax transcripts.
Gotcha. Okay. There was another section where it said that 4506C is not required though, with one of the other lenders. That's why.
Usually, since I do notary signings, usually the 4506 form is always signed, but it's not, but again, for guidelines, they're not required to pull the actual transcripts.
Got it. Okay. Okay, then thank you for that clarification. Ian, Ian just asked a question, not signed and executed by lender, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, here it is. I found one. Share this tab instead. Maybe I read it wrong, but right here. Pay stubs, tax returns, 4506C or W2 is not required. And this is with mega capital.
So usually when they refer to 4506, it's running the actual tax transcripts.
Gotcha.
Because the
Okay.
4056C or
Uh,
previously the 4056T, because you guys
T.
still call it T,
yeah,
but it's the same form. The
Form, uh-huh.
form is sent to pull the tax transcripts.
Gotcha.
So without that form, they can't send it to the IRS to get the tax transcripts.
Okay. Okay. Ian, does that answer the question or clarify it? So it does seem like even though it says it's not required here, that they're still going to get a signature. It's just that it's not going to be pulled, not going to be actually requested from the IRS. Okay. All right. Any questions regarding this program? I myself have personally now with the company have used this twice. One was more of that scenario, more of a, cash wasn't accounted for, and so we used it. And another one was for a colorful situation.
So, Ron, I have a question.
Yeah, who was that?
Freddie.
Oh, Freddie.
So if you have the ability to get a written VOE with all the details that we need, why would you not go full doc if the price difference is about half a point?
So what was the beginning of that part? If you have all the documentation?
And I'm saying if someone has the ability to provide a written VOE with all that detailed information and we get the same result as far as income, why not go full doc and take advantage of the price difference?
Right. So if in that scenario of the waiter, who's only reporting 52 or right gets a W-2 of 52,000 and the tip money is not being provided by the employer as well, then we can't go full doc.
Mm.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Cash this, you mean?
Correct. It's cash. So the employer essentially is turning a blind eye to the tip money too, right? Or there are employees you'll run into like a gardeners. This happens a lot too, and truck drivers, where the employer pays them half their income on W-2, but the other half is under the table.
Okay, that makes sense. So in the event where you could benefit from a written VOE in that sense.
Correct.
Then that makes sense.
Yeah.
Runner.
Yeah. Because if you already have somebody willing to verify the same income you would get on pay stubs, then why even go and just VOE might take them.
Yeah.
But like I said, if somebody gets paid half and half and they're willing to verify it that way, and they're willing to fill that out, then obviously that's a win.
Yeah. So on that note, Freddie, I'm going to just take it a little bit step further and say this. The VOE loan programs obviously weren't really your Fortune 500, your mega businesses and, organizations weren't, considered here. We're probably talking about more of your smaller, mom and pop businesses, and smaller being relative, like maybe, I don't know, it could be 10 million or less. I don't know, but right. These are not your businesses that are all buttoned up with lawyers and auditors and stuff. These are going to be your smaller businesses, right? Yeah.
Runner, question.
Mm-hmm.
So any concerns from the business who are avoiding that tax, now they're willing to write a VOE?
That's a very good question. So to Ian's point, I think, Ian, I don't know if this is where you're getting at. That's why a 4506 is not processed, right? And so there's nothing for the employer to worry about as well. It's not like they're being tax audited or something for this. For the purpose of the mortgage, this is for the purpose of mortgage, not tax audits or hey, are you filing or issuing W-2s appropriately, right? It's not that. Okay. It's just an internal form to qualify. It's a ship with no harbor. Pretty good. Yeah, okay, I get it. I get it. Yes, that's a good one. I got it.
So Brenda, I'm sorry, I'm gonna keep asking about this because it's important. Even though they do sign up 4506, I don't know which form is used now, if it's C or T, it will not be exercised, just so that we can explain to people how this will play out.
Yeah, correct. So when they sign loan docs,
Yeah,
they
I've
will
seen it.
have that 40506C form, and they will sign it, but the lender will not run the tax transcripts.
And I guess it's a redundant question, but
Mhm.
how are we assured of that?
I mean, we're not really assured. It's the lender's guidelines. They don't run it. I will tell you, there are some VOE forms, programs that do require pay stubs to match the VOE, which is why we only go with the VOE only programs. And those VOE only programs are the ones where they won't verify the income with pay stubs, W-2s, or the tax transcripts. So when we're submitting, we have to, as processors, we are going to be, do our due diligence and look at the guidelines
Just
to make
making
sure
sure.
that it's not one of the programs where they will require specific,
Yeah,
I guess,
it
like
kind of follows the same
verifications. Because
logic.
sometimes they'll also ask for bank statements to verify that monthly pay income is
money.
being deposited. Correct.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Kind of piggybacks with the P&L to match
Mhm.
with bank statements, or even though you have a
Right.
DOE, they might say, I need 2 months bank statements to see that those actual payroll payments are actually clearing your account.
Mhm.
Let me answer that real quick, Freddie. Actually, I should have taken you guys through a little bit more, but I don't want to go over on time. There are lenders that require that, but you will also notice that the bank statements will specifically say, I'll send it to you separately. It says deposits have to amount to 60% of the qualified stated whatever the qualified income is. It's not the full amount.
So it doesn't have to match dollar for dollar what's on the VOE.
No, yeah, I'll send you the guideline. Surely. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, I just saw Ian's message, and it's true. Because I know in the event of a payment default, most lenders will run the 4506 form.
Hmm. Now, as a broker, again, it's not on us.